My husband's white moonlight first love fell into the water, and in a fit of rage, my husband locked me in a water prison. Serena fell into the water for 10 minutes. You should soak in the water for an extra week. In the dead of winter, I, with my pregnant belly, trembled from the cold, begging for mercy while crying. As long as the child can be safely delivered, I am willing to kill myself. But my husband sneered. Don't use the child to threaten me. Only after you've learned your lesson will you learn to be sensible. He forbade anyone from caring about me and took his white moonlight abroad for relaxation. I cried, begged for mercy, and died together with my child in despair. A week later, my husband finally returned from his trip, casually ordering, "Let that bitch out, although she's troublesome and delicate, she is, after all, my wife. I can't bear to keep her locked up in there all the time." He didn't know that a beautiful face had already turned into dry bones. In the 5th year that he wished for my death, I truly died. Didn't I tell you to go and let that bitch out? Isn't she coming to kneel down and thank me properly? So stubborn, if she doesn't come, lock her back up for another 2 days anyway, she won't die of thirst in the water prison. Julian casually said, but noticed that the assistant beside him suddenly looked very strange. The assistant cautiously explained, "Sir, just now. It seems like no one went to check on Madam. Everyone is busy organizing the luggage you and Miss Serena brought back." Julian was stunned for a moment, and a hint of compassion flashed in his eyes, but it quickly turned into a nonchalant expression. "Then let her stay locked up. That woman is so stubborn, it's good for her to reflect for a couple more days." The assistant carefully reminded him, "But I heard there hasn't been any movement in the water prison all day today, and people who pass by said it smells terrible." This time Julian truly sneered. "It's what she deserves for soaking in there." The assistant still wanted to persuade him, but was interrupted by Julian. "In that case, I'll go personally release her later, and teach her a few lessons while I'm at it, so she doesn't spend all day going against my Serena." As he finished speaking, Serena came into the study carrying a cake. A gentle smile quickly appeared on Julian's face. "Serena, is your fever any better? Don't worry, that bitch Alara will never have the chance to bully you like that again." Serena threw herself into his arms, her face full of gratitude. "Julian, I knew I was the most important to you, but I can't bear to see you and your wife turning against each other because of me. When Alara is released, as long as she apologizes to me, I won't say anything about these things again. You know I don't want to make things difficult for you." Julian was immediately moved and hugged her tightly. The two of them were as sweet and loving as a real couple. I watched this ridiculous scene, unable to help but chuckle as I floated in the room. They don't know that I'm already dead, and from now on I no longer have to apologize to Serena against my conscience. After my death, I finally left that dark and cramped underground water prison. Looking down from above, this water prison was cramped and dark, simply not a place fit for a human being. Several yellow talismans were pasted on the door, seemingly afraid that the person inside would come out to claim their life. But unfortunately, they were of no use to me at all. Several rats chattered on the shore, eyeing my corpse covetously. Those water bugs that had been gnawing at me day and night were circling around my corpse, taking a bite from time to time, as if they were having a buffet. Even though I had already become a corpse, I was still terrified by the scene before me. But at this moment, my husband was still busy caring for his white moonlight. "Why is your complexion so poor? Are you tired?" I blame myself for always making you feel wronged, and even having you apologize to that woman. She doesn't deserve it. She wanted your life, but I only locked her in the water prison. A little punishment to serve as a warning. I froze in place. I didn't expect that he still didn't believe me. The Serena falling into the water incident had nothing to do with me. No matter how much I disliked her, I wouldn't want to take a woman's life. But Julian was convinced that it was all my shameless calculation, trying to kill his beloved white moonlight. But I really didn't. Julian said that I cherished my life so much that after I got out, I would definitely cry and kneel down to beg for their forgiveness. I think Julian was half right. I did cherish my life. When I was locked in the water prison, Julian was afraid that I would find a way to escape, so he specifically used thickened iron chains to tie my hands and feet, so that I could only raise my hands day and night, and my blood could not circulate smoothly. I cried and begged, my 7-month pregnant belly straining. Please, at least the child is innocent. If this goes on for too long, something will definitely happen to the child. But he said, why didn't you think about the child when you harmed Serena? I said I didn't, and he said he wouldn't listen. In a panic, I had to admit the crime and beg him to let me out, but Julian was indifferent. Too noisy. Lock the prison door tightly, and don't let her get in Serena's way. I had already cried myself hoarse, but I could only helplessly watch him personally lock the water prison and turn away. And I also closed my eyes forever in endless pain. Let Alara out. Although she made a mistake, Serena is generous, so I won't hold it against her. Julian ordered casually, not noticing the stiffness in the assistant's expression. Serena clung to him, coaxing sweetly. After my sister comes out, you're not allowed to be angry with her anymore. If you listen to me, I'll make you a small cake to eat. Julian's eyes were filled with emotion. You're so sensible. So sensible indeed. I laughed sarcastically, thinking of the conflict between me and Serena this time. Serena insisted on having the swimming pool repaired so Julian could teach her how to swim, and I was forced to supervise the site for her, even while heavily pregnant. But Serena suddenly approached me and deliberately asked me, your husband cares about me so much, even forcing you to supervise for me while you're pregnant. Aren't you angry at all? She deliberately wanted to anger me into premature labor, but she was angered by my indifferent attitude. After I left, she deliberately jumped into the water and soaked for half an hour, and coincidentally, fainted when Julian passed by the pool. The first thing she did when she woke up was to cry and say to Julian, it's not my sister's fault. Serena deliberately said, my sister just loves you too much, so she calculated against me at all costs. Don't blame her, I'm fine. While she said she was fine, tears rolled down her face, and my blind husband comforted her with concern. I stood not far away and only felt like an outsider. At that time, I still didn't take it seriously. People who are used to being wronged don't think they are wronged. I just didn't expect him to be so ruthless to me. After I was locked in the water prison, I cried and begged him, but Julian frowned tightly and said, your one willfulness almost cost my Serena her life. Things have come to this point, and Julian is still not relieved. He sits high on his throne, waiting for me to take the initiative to find him and admit my mistake. But Julian, you will never wait again. I will never have the opportunity to apologize to you. The assistant rushed in panicked and said with a sob, Sir, madam, she's gone. Julian froze for a moment, seemingly not expecting things to develop this way. I stared at him intently, thinking, after all these years, surely he can't be completely unmoved by my death. Otherwise I'd be too pathetic. But Julian was even more indifferent than I imagined. He chuckled coldly and asked in a casual yet utterly certain tone, how much did she pay you to make up this lie? Someone like her, willing to let herself die? You've been with me for years, don't be so short-sighted. Following Alara to trick me won't do you any good. The assistant clearly didn't expect things to go this way, and even Serena was stunned. Julian spoke coldly. Go tell her, if she doesn't want me to freeze her cards, she'll roll over here in half an hour. She's not some young lady anymore. No matter how spoiled she acts, no one will chase after her, coaxing and begging for mercy. At this moment, listening to these utterly ruthless words, I didn't even have the energy to be angry. It's laughable. If he hadn't said it, I'd forgotten that before I married him, I was also a bright pearl of the capital. My father was a real estate tycoon, and my mother was once a beloved little princess of the Beijing social circle. And I was their daughter, cherished in their palms. Before meeting Julian, the biggest hardship I'd endured was military training in school. Until I met him, it was love at first sight. An 18-year-old girl, just coming of age, encountered the first calamity of her life. My parents didn't approve, and my friends strongly opposed it, because my personal worth was twice that of the entire Hu family. Marrying beneath one's station has always been a gamble. But I still foolishly followed him, loving him from the bottom of my heart, hoping that one day Julian would turn around and see me. It lasted until I was 25, the year I graduated with a master's degree, when my parents died unexpectedly while providing earthquake relief. I cried and screamed, wanting to go find them and bring them back, but Julian silently stopped me. I'll go, he said. He brought back my parents' remains, knelt on one knee before me and said, "Let me take care of you. I don't trust you to be alone." Years of pursuit had paid off, so I married Julian, but I never expected that in the 5th year of our marriage, he would stab me with the deepest pain in my heart. Without my parents, I was no longer the happy and sweet little princess. And he had complete and utter control over me. Later, I learned from a conversation between him and Serena that the reason he married me in the first place was that his company had an accident, and Julian was forced to offer himself. I couldn't stop retching after hearing that, and then I realized I was pregnant. I wanted to tell him, but I heard Julian excitedly say to Serena, "These past few years of studying in Germany haven't been easy. You're back, and from now on, I'm not alone anymore." 10 years of effort, gone in one night. The destructive power of a white moonlight, nothing more than this. Julian hugged and kissed Serena for a long time before remembering that I hadn't appeared yet. His face was dark as water. "Why isn't Alara here yet? Tell her, don't try to act tough with me. I've pulled out more than one thorn in these years." Floating in the air, I thought as expected he had no attachment to me at all. I was clearly his wife, but in his heart, I was more hateful than an enemy. The assistant almost knelt down, trembling and whispering, "Sir, why don't you go see for yourself?" Julian's hand visibly tightened. Pretending to be calm, he pushed Serena away, coaxing her. "I'll go grab Alara and bring her to apologize to you." After he had his fun, he disregarded her attempts to keep him and strode towards the basement. Before he even reached the door, he was stopped by a strong stench, making him pause slightly, frowning in dissatisfaction and asking, "What is this woman doing? Why does it smell so bad?" The assistant's eyes were slightly red. I couldn't tell if it was from fear or panic. He only whispered, "Why don't you see for yourself? Playing tricks." Julian opened the door with a cold laugh, and at that moment, I subconsciously dodged to the side. I knew I died tragically, and I didn't have the courage to look before I died. My limbs were nearly broken, and my whole body emitted a foul odor. Eaten by 10,000 insects, entwined by water snakes, I was suffocated to death in excruciating pain. A corpse could never be beautiful. Julian put on a gas mask and suddenly opened the dungeon, finding me with my head lowered, so he reached out and pushed me hard. "Alara, what kind of biological weapon are you making? Why aren't you answering me?" The next moment my head, which had already been softened and rotted, was pushed off and fell into the water. Julian was so frightened that his legs went weak, and he uncontrollably collapsed backward onto the ground. What's going on?" Julian was so frightened he couldn't speak. Now that the obstruction in front of me was gone, I could finally face my own mangled corpse. My head was severed, but my body, still secured by chains, remained upright, crawling with maggots, fat white worms sucking nutrients from me. The water was dyed black and red, displaying a bizarre, complex hue. Julian instinctively grabbed his assistant's pants leg, wiping the filth from his hands onto him. He roared, "Who the hell put this creepy thing here to scare me? Where's that bitch Alara? Did she run away? She wishes. Even if that bitch Alara runs to the ends of the earth, I'll find her." The man's voice sounded strong, but I could hear the trembling within. He was scared. No matter how calm he tried to appear, how well he acted, after being his bed partner for so many years, how could I not recognize the horror and fear in Julian's heart at this moment? He knew that was my corpse. He killed me and the child we had finally managed to conceive. The assistant said in an extremely low voice, "Boss madam, she really is dead. The body is already rotten." Julian stared at the assistant with fury. "How much money did Alara give you to cooperate with her in this charade? Do you think I'll believe it just because you two are acting like this? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Go find her, check the surveillance footage. I want her found dead or alive. I want Alara to kneel before me and beg for forgiveness." He abruptly got up and walked out, even personally going to the surveillance room, insisting on finding out how I had escaped. Outside the door, Serena, seeing him come out, rushed forward, wanting to give him a hug. But the stench stopped her, and she stood a short distance away, coquettishly saying, "Julian, I baked your favorite bread. Do you want to try some?" Seeing his unpleasant expression, she coaxed him sweetly. "Is sister still not willing to apologize? It's okay. As long as you're happy, I'm fine with anything. Julian's expression was chilling. That bitch is really bold, running away. But don't worry, Serena. I said I'd make her apologize to you. And Alara can't escape that. I floated above his head, watching my husband gently comforting another woman, promising her that I would obediently bow my head and admit my wrongs. I thought maybe I really don't deserve his love. The woman looked at him with adoring eyes, enduring the stench, smiling as she kissed Julian's face for the first time. I subconsciously averted my gaze, thinking, me being near them is truly hindering these two people's happiness. Actually, I had known about Serena's existence for a long time. Although I liked Julian, I never intended to be someone else's mistress. Seeing Julian use their photos as his profile picture, every single post of his social media had Serena's shadow, and whenever they appeared, they always stood together. I just felt that if I were to get involved, I would only be an eyesore. So I gave up. But I never expected to stumble upon Serena holding hands with another man, embracing him, and finally kissing. The two of them entwined together, while not far away Julian stood silently, watching the scene, his eyes red. At that moment, I thought, if this kind of love could ever fall upon me, I would die from happiness. I went closer to him, pulled at him and said, Julian, stop watching, let me take you away, okay? Just like when I first met him. Back then, I was being robbed at knife point, forced to hand over the pearl necklace on my neck. He kicked hard, and the boy holding a baseball bat fiercely struck down a few people, then grabbed my hand and ran. Run, I can't fight so many of them. I was pulled by him, dazed as I stared at the boy in front of me. Before that, my only impression of him was that he was the school's heartthrob, admired by countless girls just for his looks. After that day, I too became one of those who secretly liked him. I longed for his gaze to fall on me. I began pursuing him, using the excuse of that day's favor to force him to hang out with me, and introduced him proudly to all my friends. After being with him, Julian and I took countless couple photos. He said he wanted to tell the world that he had the most adorable girl. We were always stuck together, and I thought that was happiness. Friends all said I was a hopeless love brain, angry that I lacked self-respect, but I only smiled. They didn't know how much effort I spent to win this man's love. They didn't know how worthy Julian's love seemed to me. But now, thinking about it, all of Julian's goodness was just my own imagination. He only chose me because the woman he loved abandoned him for her future. At this moment, Julian had completely lost all charm in my eyes. When I thought about how people said Julian had long wanted to break up with me, but stayed only because of my family's money, I couldn't help but wonder, was my parents' accident back then also related to him? Of course, that's impossible. But I could no longer live with him peacefully. Luckily I died. I thought since I died, the entanglement between Julian and me could finally end. I even felt a little relieved. After realizing I had let go, I felt as if my whole body had become lighter, transparent, as though I could soon disperse. I tried to leave, but I still couldn't go farther than 10 meters away from Julian. I gave a bitter laugh. Even in death, I was bound to linger near him. Perhaps Julian and I truly restrained each other's fate. The next moment, Julian, who had been embracing Serena, suddenly pushed her away hard. Serena was startled, hastily asking, "What's wrong?" Julian couldn't explain. He clutched his chest tightly, the pain unbearable. As if something was about to fade away. He shook his head, unwilling to continue being lovey-dovey with Serena, and instead asked his new assistant impatiently, "Still haven't found Alara's whereabouts?" His eyes scrutinized the assistant sharply. "I switched to you specifically. You have no ties with Alara. If you dare to cover for her, then think carefully about your whole family's jobs." The assistant, usually cold by nature, couldn't help feeling a strange sympathy while looking at Julian. Shaking his head, his silent demeanor made Julian increasingly annoyed. "Speak, what happened?" "Sorry, sir. Most likely she's hiding somewhere. They couldn't find her, so now they're panicking." Serena suddenly laughed, tugging at Julian's hand, unwilling to let him continue worrying about me. "Enough. What does this have to do with you? You can't go looking in person, can you? Just leave it to others. Besides, I baked cookies that you haven't eaten yet. Brother, you must promise me you won't make things hard for my sister anymore." Julian hugged her gently, his eyes full of gratitude. You're the best. That woman isn't even worth a single strand of your hair. I floated nearby, watching, and thought, I can do that too. Even before marriage, Julian had said he liked women who stayed home and raised children. After marriage, people around him constantly hinted and reminded me that Julian liked women who were simple and obedient. I liked him, and foolishly thought I should mold myself into that role. So I learned to cook and quickly learned to manage everything for Julian myself. But Julian never noticed. He didn't love me, so none of it mattered to him. And now, just because another woman casually did something I had done thousands of times before, his entire family was moved to tears? It's a bit ridiculous, honestly. I laughed and laughed, but tears still slipped down unknowingly, because I saw my dearest friend Arya. Arya, seeing Julian and Serena standing together, slapped Julian directly. Julian, have you no shame? Alara is pregnant with your child, and you're flirting with other women. Julian grabbed her wrist in return, his face full of impatience. What are you shouting about? Did Alara send you? Arya realized something was wrong and questioned. You lost Alara? Julian was dumbfounded. I didn't expect that even Arya hadn't seen me. Hearing her say that I hadn't been to our studio in a week, and that the studio's work had come to a standstill because of it, Julian finally started to panic a little. I am a very career-minded person. Even after getting married, when Julian didn't want me to work outside the home, I secretly founded a small studio specializing in environmental design. The studio has been developing very well recently. I'm the type who would finish work even with leg cramps, determined not to let my own issues affect the business. How could I possibly bear to neglect the studio? Unless something really happened. Arya immediately called the police. No, don't. Serena exclaimed, trying to grab her hand. Julian hesitated, and then, realizing something, also quickly went to grab Arya. Arya took off running, heading straight for a basement. I designed this house, and several of the basements were secret rooms I specially designed with Arya to do design work. Even Julian didn't know about them. Julian stood at the entrance, his face incredulous. Alara has been hiding so much from me. That woman, and I was worried about her. Julian thought I must have dug 3 feet underground to hide myself, and that I probably even installed surveillance cameras in the house, watching him search everywhere like a clown. Serena's mouth twitched, but she still tried her best to agree with him. Julian, encouraged, immediately began to arrange for a thorough search. After Arya finished calling the police, she came up and said coldly, "Don't tear the place apart. This house is Alara's most perfect work, designed over half a year. Don't destroy it." She took out the basic blueprints, and through these blueprints, all the basements could be found. Julian was shocked to discover that I had been hiding quite a bit in the house, so he went from room to room. The first room was my private design studio. Then he found my modeling room, and the room for storing various materials. The last basement was in the most secluded corner at the back of the villa. By the time they got there, they were very tired, and Serena even said, "Why don't we have someone continue searching according to the blueprints, and we go back?" It was too hot. But Julian pushed the door open on his own. Inside, prominently displayed, was a wedding photo of me and him. After coming back from Serena's, Julian had all the photos of the two of us taken down. Everyone knew why, but they didn't dare object. I couldn't stop Julian either, and could only watch as Julian's people found various excuses to smash and throw away the photos. Only this one was left, hidden by me. Hidden in the last basement. He walked inside and saw the floor plan of the house. Beside it were 2 small figurines, me and him, that we made together when we first fell in love. And so much more, all our memories. I drew all those things. Julian's every smile, every gesture, every action. There were even comic strips depicting small details of Julian's actions. Every bit was my once sincere love for Julian. There was also the photo of him proposing to me. Julian's surprised look when he found out I was pregnant. Even the intimate embrace of us lying in bed together. In Julian's eyes, our life had become mundane, and it could even be said that we no longer had much love for each other. We were just living day to day. That's why he wanted to find some freshness in other women, but he didn't expect to stumble upon such a scene today. He had almost forgotten those memories. Only I still remembered, thinking about me and him in the past. The mundane life in his eyes was full of endless fun in my eyes. I loved him and loved him deeply, so I could capture every subtle little detail of his life. Looking at these things, I only felt how pathetic I was back then. Julian was stunned. Julian had always known that I loved him very much. In my heart, love held a very high position, and I was willing to give him my all to give him sincere love, but he never thought I would love him so much. Serena finally realized something was wrong, and quickly reached out to grab Julian, saying cautiously, "Brother, don't overthink it. This must all be a trap set by Alara, trying to tie you down with these things. Look, who would be so meticulous? Drawing so many pictures by hand. Now we're in an age of cameras, wouldn't it be easier to take a picture of you?" Arya, who was standing next to him, didn't want to speak. After all, even seeing these things shocked him. But after hearing Serena's question about me, he strode forward, pushed Julian aside. Julian almost fell over, and was about to get angry when he saw Arya take out a photo album, which was also filled with photos of Julian. Alara's habit is to take pictures of the best moments and then draw them. What you see here is only a part of it. Julian's fingers trembled. He knew that these couldn't be drawn overnight, and each painting had a date on it, all within a few days of the event. So he was almost certain that these things weren't fabricated. Julian suddenly didn't want to blame me anymore. A hint of joy appeared in his eyes. He softened, and even his tone became unconsciously gentle when he spoke. "Forget it, let Alara come out. I know she likes to be petty and gets jealous. I'll forgive her this time. But if she's ever this capricious again, I definitely won't forgive her. No matter how many thousands or tens of thousands of paintings she makes for me next time, it won't work." Serena was anxious. She had finally found an opportunity to pull me down from the altar. If Julian raised me up again, she would never have a chance. But Arya suddenly had tears in her eyes and stared coldly at Julian. Actually, Arya already knew the truth. When I died, the heart rate monitoring bracelet had already sent her a death alarm. "Alara is dead. You killed her with your own hands. You locked Alara in a water dungeon and tortured her to death. Alara was most afraid of water, and she was pregnant. Such a pitiful person died in that narrow and dirty place. Alara used to be so clean, do you remember?" Julian was stunned, his lips trembled, and his fingers trembled as well. He wanted to slam the table and smash things, but he couldn't bear to touch anything here. He turned and walked out, pulling Arya and questioning her incessantly. "How long is Alara going to be so capricious? I already said I would forgive her. Why are you still telling me these things? A pregnant woman saying these things, isn't she afraid of bad luck?" Arya's eyes were filled with pity for the man. Arya also realized at this moment that Julian really had deep feelings for me. Even while hurting me, he still loved me. But that was ridiculous. Think about it yourself. Does that make sense? Pregnant people are most afraid of bad luck and these superstitious things, you know that. Besides, Alara cares about you so much. How could she bear to make you sad? I am dead. My corpse is cold and died in that sewer. Julian went mad. He rushed back, found my body, and frantically sent it for an autopsy. He didn't even care that doing so would implicate him. The results came out quickly. The DNA matched mine, and the formed, miscarried male fetus was also Julian's and my flesh and blood. Julian collapsed on the ground. His emotions completely shattered. His first reaction was to find Serena. He burst into Serena's room, where Serena was packing to run. Julian immediately grabbed her neck and lifted her up. "Where are you going, you dead bitch? I'm asking you, where are you going?" Serena was lifted off the ground, suffocating. She struggled frantically, thrashing, but it was no use. Serena couldn't handle Julian's unleashed rage. Serena cried and screamed loudly, trying to remind Julian of their tender moments. "Brother, don't do this, brother. Don't you remember? You swore you'd be good to me for life. You said so. What if you kill me? I also swore, to my wife for life, forever inseparable." Julian was stunned as he said this. He thought of many things, of his years of affection for Alara, and of Alara being wronged and unable to rest in peace. Thinking of the corpse, he felt a chill and couldn't help but want to vomit. Serena stared at him, dumbfounded. She didn't understand what was wrong with this man. But she still struggled to escape. Julian grabbed her, gnashing his teeth and shouting, It's all your fault. All because of you. If it weren't for you, my wife and I wouldn't have ended up like this. It's all because of you, you dead bitch. What does it have to do with me? It's your own heart that's cruel. You killed your own wife. Serena suddenly exclaimed loudly, and in the next instant, Julian froze. Serena seized the opportunity to escape, wanting to run away regardless of everything. But Julian, his face grim, stopped her. I floated in midair, looking at the two of them with some confusion, not knowing what Julian was going to do. I used to pride myself on understanding Julian. After all, we had been husband and wife for many years. But only now did I realize that I didn't really understand him. When he locked me in the water prison, I never expected him to be so cruel. Now I couldn't imagine what he would do to his beloved white moonlight. He unhesitatingly grabbed Serena's neck and slapped her hard across the face twice, causing Serena to become dizzy. And what terrified her even more was what followed. Julian then grabbed her head and slammed it hard against the wall. Julian's eyes held a bloodthirsty smile. I know I'll definitely be sent to the police station, but it doesn't matter. Before I die, I'll take you down with me. Someone like you shouldn't live in this world, right? I was startled and hurriedly reached out to try to stop him, not wanting to watch such terror unfold before my eyes. But I was just a soul, unable to do anything. I could only watch Julian grab Serena and beat her relentlessly, until Serena was on her last breath. Serena broke down and cried and screamed at Julian. Is it my fault? Isn't it because you were cruel to your wife that you gave me the opportunity? You didn't trust her, you resented her, you thought she didn't love you as much. You wanted to use me to scare your wife, to make your wife love you more. The result is that you lost your wife, lost your child, and now you're going to die yourself. It's all your fault. Julian paused, seemingly not expecting her to say such things. The woman straightened her clothes and couldn't help but reveal a hint of mockery. You really think you're something good? Pretending to be a gentle, good man. A truly good man should be dead with his wife right now. Julian was stunned, as if something had instantly filled his mind. His eyes momentarily cleared up, only to become clouded and gloomy again. The woman just watched him quietly, her eyes filled with overlapping smiles and mockery. Even if I'm going to die, I'll take you down to die with me first. After we die, we'll both go apologize to my wife. Maybe my wife will even give me a few kind looks. But you'll be forever condemned to Avicii hell. Serena was dizzy from being hit and struggled in fear, but Julian used so much force that Serena had no chance to resist. Serena was beaten unconscious, and at this moment, police sirens rang outside the door. I frantically shouted towards the door. Here. Julian dragged Serena to the basement to torture her. If the police were to search it themselves, it would probably take a while. This place is so hidden that even I have to walk quite a distance. I exhausted all my mental strength to crash the door open, making a huge noise, immediately attracting the attention of the police nearby. Julian stared blankly at the door, then suddenly let out a whistle. He looked up in my direction, and I was startled, thinking Julian had discovered me. But Julian looked around, searching for my whereabouts, saying as he searched, "You're still kind-hearted, unwilling to see me kill someone, aren't you? But this person must die. She's the one who harmed you, wife. I know you wanted me to turn her in, but I'm not satisfied. Don't worry, after I kill her, I'll go die." As he spoke, Julian kicked Serena hard, and she fell limply, thrown into the water prison. The water prison had already been prepared with poisonous snakes and electric eels by Julian. Serena was jolted awake from her coma by the intense pain, and saw Julian throwing the electric wires down. As Serena rapidly burned to a crisp, Julian also took a knife and stabbed himself straight through. He weakly looked up at the void. His unfocused gaze met my direction and he smiled. "My dear wife, I can finally go meet you. I hope you don't blame me for disappointing you. Don't blame me for hurting you. I know you've always been the best person, you won't, will you?" Unfortunately, Julian was wrong this time. After Julian died, he saw my soul. He rushed towards me frantically, calling out in surprise as he ran. "I knew I could see you here, wife. Are you here waiting for me? You still love me after all, right?" But I pushed Julian away without hesitation, and walked towards Oxhead and Horseface. Oxhead and Horseface announced my fate. I had done good deeds in life, had hyene virtue, and died an accidental violent death after being harmed. In the future, I would be reincarnated as a good person in the human realm. Julian harmed 3 lives, so he would go to the Avicii hell. His curse on Serena had now come true for himself. Julian struggled desperately, calling out wife desperately, wanting me to look at him, but I ignored him completely. After a few steps, I saw a small figure not far away. My baby hadn't even opened its eyes, but could already accurately find my direction. I embraced my baby and heard it say, "Mommy, I know you love me very much, and I know you did your best to protect me. I'm willing to be your child again in the next life. How about I be your daughter in the next life? I'm going to get in line, okay, to be born when you're 25. I smiled and said yes. The man behind me cried out, "Wife, son, wait for me, wait for me. After thousands of years, we can still reunite." But the next moment, Serena's miserable scream rang out. Serena grabbed Julian's soul with all her might and roared, "You wish? Don't even think about abandoning me in this life. You killed me, so you should die with me." With a bang, Serena grabbed Julian, and the two of them actually self-destructed together. Oxhead and Horseface led me further away, so I wouldn't be tainted by the resentment from them. But from then on, their souls dissipated, and they could no longer be reincarnated. So from now on we'll never meet again.